In the previous lesson, you learned about atomic elements. Now remember, an element is a substance made up of just one type of atom. And an atomic element, did you catch the word atom in the word atomic? An atomic element is made up of atoms that aren't bonded to each other, but it's the same type of atom throughout the substance. In this lesson, we're going to be focusing on a different building block. Sure, the atom is the most fundamental building block, the fundamental unit of matter, but in this lesson, we're going to be looking at molecules as a building block of matter as we learn about molecular elements. Pay attention to how you see molecules, that building block of matter, appear throughout this lesson. Now, we're going to take a look one more time at the types of pure substances just so you can get your bearings and you understand what we are talking about and what we're not talking about. We are not talking about compounds in this lesson. And remember, compounds are substances that have more than one type of atom. Those atoms can be arranged in different ways, but compounds are pure substances with more than one type of atom. To be an element, like in this lesson we're learning about molecular elements, elements only have one type of atom, even though those atoms can be arranged in 3 different ways. And we're going to be talking about one of those ways that atoms can be arranged. Now, it might help to go back and review the definition of element and of molecule. An element is a pure substance made up of one type of atom. A molecule is a group of atoms that are bonded together. The atoms are touching each other in my pictures to show that they are bonded together. When we combine these two terms together to make molecular element, we see that a molecular element has the same kind of atom, except they're bonded as groups of that same kind of atom as molecules. Let's see what that looks like. This is iodine gas. Iodine gas isn't just made up of individual iodine atoms. It's made up of iodine atoms bonded to other iodine atoms to make iodine atom pairs or molecules. This is a molecular element because the iodine atoms will bond to other iodine atoms and arrange themselves as molecules. Another example of this would be ozone, which is made up of 3 oxygen atoms that bond together to make an ozone molecule. Notice it's still all oxygen atoms, so it has to be an element, but it's a molecular element because the atoms bond together as molecules. Now I'm going to show you 2 examples of substances that are not molecular elements, but they're close to being molecular elements. Take a look at these. This is sulfur, and the one on the right is bromine. Sulfur is made up of groups of 8 sulfur atoms bonded together, except normally in nature, sulfur is a solid crystalline substance that is very brittle and is easily crushed into a powder. Bromine, on the other hand, is a liquid at room temperature that can easily be frozen. And the picture of bromine that I have here is actually frozen bromine that has crystallized. So how do we turn these substances, which are right now crystals, how do we change them into molecular elements? Because notice they have that crystal lattice bonding them together, and as long as they have a crystal lattice bonding the molecules together, they're not really just individual molecules. To change these into molecular elements, I have to heat them up. In the case of sulfur, I have to apply enough heat using a fire to melt sulfur to a liquid. Then the crystal lattice will let go of the atoms and they'll be able to slide past one another, making it a liquid substance, but also making it a molecular element because the sulfur molecules are now no longer connected by that crystal lattice. With bromine, all I have to do is let it sit out at room temperature because I have frozen it, and now if it melts to a liquid, it changes to its normal room temperature liquid state, And because it's a liquid, the molecules are no longer bonded together in that crystal lattice. They're sliding past one another, and this is a molecular element. So notice, are there any molecular elements that are solids? Once again, we see that all molecular elements are either gases or liquids. If they were solids, there would have to be something holding them together in a fixed shape, and that something that holds them together is that crystal lattice bond. But molecular elements don't have bonds holding the individual molecules together as a crystal. Otherwise, it would be a crystal element. In this case, the molecules are apart from each other. They are not bonded together, and that's what makes it a molecular element. So to recap, a molecular element is made up of molecules that have the same atom throughout the molecule. Also, those molecules aren't bonded in a repeating crystal network like a crystal element would be. Instead, those molecules are just their own individual units made up of one type of atom.